It is time for another Sips and Trips with me and Tania, the author. So tonight we are going to be talking about things we wish we knew prior to starting our travel journey. So I'm just waiting for Tania to join us. We hope that you guys have really been enjoying these sips and trips. We've been having a lot of fun with them. And be sure to let us know who your favorite travel creators are so that we can invite them on the show. So I'm just going to wait for Tania to join and we can go ahead and get started. Up here she is now. So we can go ahead and get started. Let me invite her on now. So Tania should be joining us any second now. My phone is kind of acting up.
Hi.
There she
Hi.
is. Hey, friend.
Hey, everyone. How are y'all? You cute. How was
Yes,
your
yes.
event?
Oh, it was really, really nice. I went to a new spa that just opened up in the DMV. And it's a foot soaking spa. But not only that, it's also a kid spa. And this is not your typical kid spa. Like, I feel like I want to go find somebody's child to steal so that I can go to the spa too. But really great event. Nice customer service. They wined and dined us. I can't wait to go back. But how was your day?
It's been pretty good. It's been busy. I was super excited to try the cocktail that you told me about, but I did kind of make some revisions to the recipe based on things I liked. So, hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's episode of Sips and
Oh, we froze a little bit. Let's see how we can fix that. Sorry, guys, we're having some technical difficulties. Tania will be back.
It did
All right,
something really
she's back.
crazy. Did it?
Yeah, it did. It said that you were gone, so I had to invite you back.
Okay, but then it was still replaying me on my end. It was
Oh, that's
real
weird.
crazy. Okay, so again, today was really good. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. As you can see, with every episode of Sips and Trips, we'll be talking trips and drinking some of our favorite beverages. Jennifer decided tonight's recipe, and I'm super excited. Do you want to tell them what we're sipping tonight? And remember, she's still doing mocktails.
Okay, so I had champagne tonight, but when I came on here, it's a mocktail, all right? I was going through something. But we have a rosé sangria tonight, and we both made some modifications. So this is actually a non-alcoholic sangria. I mean, a non-alcoholic rosé. And I did the berries instead of the berries and the oranges. I did blueberries and strawberries. And instead of the grapefruit liqueur, I put the seed lip non-alcoholic mocktail and mixed it with my non-alcoholic rosé.
Okay.
So it came out pretty good.
So,
And what do you have?
for mine, I did berries as well. I did raspberries and strawberries and cut up a little lemon. And for the rosé, honestly, I just went to and picked up a bottle of rosé. This one is just called Charles and Charles. It's pretty decent. I had never tried it prior to today. The only reason why I got it was because it was honestly $11. So that's why I got it.
Listen, hey,
But this is simply cut up strawberries, raspberries, a couple of slices of lemon, and like Jennifer said, it's just an easy sangria to whip up a great drink for spring and summer.
yeah,
What are you guys
definitely.
drinking for tonight's episode? Drop it in the
Yes,
comments.
yep. Drop it in the comments if you have something good to drink to share with us, and if you have a recipe idea
Yes.
for one of our next shows. So you guys have two homework assignments, right? One, drop your favorite content creator, and 2 tell us what we should drink for our next show.
That sounds perfect. And as far as dropping your favorite content creator, you can drop it here, but tomorrow we'll also have a post that comes out for you to drop it under. So if you forget, make sure you are following either Jennifer at Red Lips and Passport or that you're following me, Tania the author, or Travels by Tania, and you'll be able to drop it under that post. But we love talking travel and we love having guest hosts. If you haven't joined us prior to tonight, we've had Calculated Opulence, we've had Breakfast at or with Tiffany's.
Breakfast with Tiffany.
Breakfast with Tiffany, and we are looking forward to having some of your favorite travel content creators on to talk all things travel.
Let me just say, I'm really excited about tonight, though, because I have like a list of things, and I really hope we can get through it because you already know how we do.
Yes.
So,
ready to get started?
Yeah. So we're talking about things that we wish we knew, right? And I have a few things that are funny, but I do have some that are serious too, right? So you want to go ahead and get started?
No, I think I'm gonna let you get started because mine are you gonna tell yours in story form, or how are you telling yours?
I think it'll probably like like factual and like funny and like story
Okay.
too.
Because y'all, Jennifer tells my favorite stories. Like, I just think she's just a great storyteller. I always get good laughs out of it. But tonight we're going to try to do something special if we have time. If you have a story that would fit tonight's episode, definitely let us know. We'll have some points where you can share one of your stories that fit as well. So, Jennifer, I'm going to let you share something you wish you knew about a travel experience before you went.
So, okay, I'm going to start with the serious one and then I'm going to say something funny. But the serious one is I wish someone would have told me that the electronic adapters are not the same in every country, because on my first trip, that's just not something that I was thinking about. And it was like a race against time for my phone to die and me to find someplace to an adapter to charge my phone, because obviously when you really it's like when you're about to run out of gas and you need to find a gas station, there's like no gas stations to be found. That's kind of how I found myself. That's the situation I found myself in when I was in Australia, and I didn't have the appropriate wall adapter, and the people I was with didn't have an extra one either. So it was kind of like a race against time. So that was definitely one of like the really, really big things that I wish someone told me. But the funny one is I wish someone would have told me that all travel partners weren't created equal, because you literally cannot travel with everybody. And I am just going to go ahead and say this. I remember being in South Africa and being so annoyed that I was about to not pay my rent so that I could get back home early. You know what I mean?
Ooh,
and it's not even funny. It's not even a funny story, but it was just like, this literally cannot be happening. And I remember with some of the situations that were going on, I was looking like, am I being punked right now? Like, you're making fun. I remember us being in a very specific store, and the girl telling me that I was ghetto because I asked the sales associate for champagne. And it was like, well, I shop in stores like this all the time, and I do know that they're going to give me, say they're going to give me champagne, but now you're making me feel bad because you think, not even that you made me feel bad, but it was just like, this is too much, and I'm no longer having a good time because these little things like this keep happening.
Microaggressions.
So it wasn't are they microaggressions if the person is black? Because
I feel like, yes, they can be.
So it was like, little things like that, but it was like, one of three things are going to happen. Either I'm going to get put out this country because I done put hands on you. That's the second thing, is hands. Or I'm just not going to be able to pay a bill or two because I got to pay this $2,000 to get back home on tonight. You know what I mean? And the lesson in that for me was, I said I titled this wrong. I'm sorry. I realized we were supposed to be talking about lessons learned. But the lesson that I learned from that was, if you are unsure about someone before a trip, don't travel with them.
Yeah.
Because I literally was unsure about this person prior to the trip, right? And every time I don't trust my gut with that, it never works out for me.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so now I've learned to be. Last year I had another travel partner, and I don't even know how we can be friends now, to be honest. And I was like, this is another person where I didn't trust my gut, right? I thought that was my anxiety. You know, anxiety be lying.
All the time,
And
baby.
yeah, but it really was like you cannot travel. You cannot travel with this person. So that is one of the major lessons that those two lessons that I've learned. Your turn.
So I have some questions for you about your travel experiences because I'm going to be honest, as much as I travel and with different people, I haven't necessarily had too many experiences with people I have chosen to travel with. Now, I have had some experiences to where I've traveled with people that have invited other people, and it's been the other people that were problematic. Were these
Mm-hmm.
people that you travel with your friends, people you met on social media, or what relationship did you have with them that made you say, let's take a trip together?
Okay, so the person that I had that was from last year, that was a friend. Um, but it was a I'm not sure if we friends or we are friends, I'm like, I don't know. But the other person, it was like an acquaintance, I guess you should say. And it was like people kept telling me that this person was cool, and I was like, oh, okay, well, if they think they're cool, then they must be, so and so saying they're cool, then they must be cool. But the reality was
Not
I
so
was
much.
unsure about them from jump,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I didn't trust my gut.
And so even with that, I think that the bigger lesson is travel with people that you know.
Yes.
Travel with people that you know you that are like you, or with people that you know you can travel with, I guess would make sense. Like group trips are different, but if you're
Okay.
traveling one-on-one with somebody and y'all gonna be in the same room together and y'all gonna be with each other 24/7, travel means you can stand to spend the entire day with that person. If that's the only person you're traveling with. And I'll be needing to experience you in the States or somewhere local at Papados before we go to the Bahamas together.
So that's definitely a good tip for picking a travel partner, because for a long time, one of my very, very, very good girlfriends, I would not travel with her. I think we did not travel together again probably for over 10 years. I think we went to Chicago in 2021, and that was like our first time trying it again. But I remember in 2009 we went to the place where friendships don't always make it back.
Miami.
You know
Yep.
it. And I mean, everybody was sick of her by the end of the trip.
Yeah.
I mean, her mama wasn't even on the trip, and her mama was sick of her too. Okay, like it was
Yeah.
it was really that bad. And I gave her another chance because I'm like, okay, back then we were in our 20s, right? Broken in our 20s. Now we're in our 30s. We matured a lot more. She might actually be a good travel partner, and she was. We had an amazing time. But now I feel like in my 30s, I'm not giving you a second chance.
I can see
Like
that.
I'm one and done. Like I don't I don't want to. I don't. I'm not trying it again. And the lesson that I do pay attention now. I watch how you treat servers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how well you listen to instructions.
How well you problem solve.
How well you problem solve, how well you read. And we know that certain people do not read.
Yeah.
And so I pay attention to all those things, because if you are going to have my stress level up here during travel, then we can't travel
Yep.
together, because I can't.
Yep. And so I'll share some of I'll share a travel story of mine where I wish people would have told me. And it's interesting because there'll be two lessons to my story, but I'll go ahead and share it. 2018, I think it was before COVID. There were two places that were on my travel bucket list. So if you are just if this is your first introduction to me and you don't kind of know about my past history and how I started traveling, I used to be a teacher and then a school counselor. So typically in the summers, I would take long trips. I would take trips that were like 2 to 3 weeks simply because I was off the entire summer and it just made sense. So 2018, me and another educator friend of ours, he's actually a close friend, we went to Thailand and Bali together. And so with Thailand, you always see this beautiful content of the Fifi Islands, the James Bond Islands, this beautiful water. You know, you see the hills, the just the terrain and all these things. And I'm going to be honest, the water is that color. The terrain does look like that. But when I was on a boat getting ready to go snorkeling, you look in this beautiful blue water and there are soda cap bottles, debris, paper, trash, to where I couldn't even fathom getting in that water to go snorkeling. And so I'm looking around and I'm like, how is it that it's water that's this blue? Like you look around, it's beautiful, and someone still said, let me throw my trash into this water. And so something that's a fact about me that most people don't know, and I'm not sure if Lottie is here in the comments, Lottie from Green Rebel Photos, I do not litter. I don't know if it's because I'm from Texas and we've been taught from a young age, you don't mess with Texas, you don't litter. Like we've always been taught don't litter. I don't litter at all. You'll never see me litter ever. I don't necessarily recycle, but I don't throw things on the ground. Like, no. So to go to a place like the Fifi Islands, and you can Google it, look on Pinterest, put in the hashtag on social media, look at the destination. It was one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. And I've been to 30 plus countries. But to look in the water and see just floating debris, the water was disgusting, but it was still beautiful. And I feel like it's important to be a conscious traveler. When they tell you do things like wear a certain kind of sunscreen, bring a certain kind of thing, it's important to be environmentally conscious. Or you have situations like for me, one of my dreams is to visit the Taj Mahal. If I don't make it to the Taj Mahal within a few years, it's probably going to be shut down to tourists because pollution and just the debris and trash and littering from tourists is going to make them restrict certain areas in order to preserve it. When I went to Greece in Athens, there were some areas that tourists used to be able to access, but we couldn't anymore because they weren't taken care of. When you go to Mexico now and you want to go to places like Chichen Itza, you can't climb it anymore because tourists have completely like made it start ruining or becoming ruins faster than necessary. And so I just think it's important that when we're traveling, just take care of these places so that
Yeah.
everybody can enjoy them. That was one. And then the next one is that I feel like as travel content creators, we have to be realistic about some of the things that you experience when you go to certain places. Fifi Islands, James Bond Island is beautiful, but because you have to get to these places on some type of boat, somewhere throughout the day, you're eating, you're drinking, you're living your best life, you're going to have to go use the restroom. Nobody told me that when I got to James Bond Island, the restrooms were a hole in the ground. Nobody told me when I went on a safari in the Serengeti that because I wanted to be adventurous the second night and stay in a tent, that the restroom was going to be a hole in the ground. There is some stuff I don't have any experience with. I don't really have experience with restrooms that are a hole in the ground. And so if you're going to the Fifi Islands, going to James Bond, wear a diaper or it depends. I'm kidding. But just
I
know,
was about to say what?
just know there are a couple of things you need to have with you. And I actually have a travel guide on my website. Make sure that you have some, they have travel toilet paper rolls. Make sure you carry them. And also make sure you have some type of wipes because you're not going to be able to hold it. You're going to have to use the restroom in a hole in the ground or out in the ocean if that's, I don't judge, but you're going to need something to help you get yourself together because that's what it's going to be.
Oh wow. I was definitely not I have not experienced anything like that before on my travels. Um
I
but I
wasn't
was
ready.
not what'd you say?
I wasn't prepared.
I wasn't expecting you to say
No.
that at all.
Like it really got to a point. So first it's like you walk up and you're like, where are the restrooms? And they're like, there. You're like, no, the restrooms, maybe. Like, where the restrooms for us? Like, I don't, this can't be because people go to these places. They're experiencing them. They're posting them. But I'm just going to assume everybody been using the restroom in the water since they ain't tell y'all. Because It's
Yeah.
holes in the ground. And I experienced that when I went on safaris as well. I did a 3-day safari as part of like a longer trip. The first
Uh-huh.
day we stayed in a luxury lodge. The second day we did a tent safari, and there were two things that happened that were like, first thing was going to use the restroom and find out it's a hole in the ground. Second thing was when we were sitting at dinner and they told us there are wild buffalo and lions and animals out here, but if they don't, I'm gonna circle back to that in a second. They were like, just if you see one, don't startle them. And I'm like, what about them startling me? Like, it ain't about them. But me and my friend that I went with had basically agreed, look, okay, so we gonna use the restroom right now before it get dark and we don't have no lights while we could see what's out here. We gonna have to hold it all night, and that's it. We gonna use the restroom when the sun come back up. So I had to pee really bad, like all night. But I remember being in a tent sleep and feeling like the tent was moving. And I was like, no, it's because you have to pee. It's because you stressed out. That's what it is. The next day, our guide tells us, oh, yeah, a big buffalo came and roamed through here. He bumped some of the tents. And I'm like, what would I have done if I would have took my behind out there? I'm looking at the buffalo. He looking at me because he know I brushed our tent. We would have never got Sips of Trips episode
No,
one.
no, you would have been eaten by a buffalo.
No. And I feel like for me, as prepared as I was, that's the second thing. Like, be familiar with where you're going and try to do some research outside of social media because being a travel content creator, our goal is to, I'm not saying don't visit these places, but
Mm-mm.
our goal is to get good content, and we may tell you certain things, but we still want good content. And so we can't always fit in anything. But had I have done some more intentional research, I probably would have known one on these safaris, your and in on James Bond Island, your restroom might be a hole in the ground, or I would have known, what to expect when I went snorkeling in these places, considering I wasn't expecting the pollution in Thailand, but it seems to be a known issue because there are blogs and articles about it.
So it's funny when you said do your research because one trip I went on, one one thing that recently dawned on me, when you're booking these trips, if you see a flight to a country that is normally like 17, 2,000, $3,000 or something like that, and all of a sudden for the entire month flights are like 400, maybe 300, there is a reason why the flights are that low, right? Because when you go to certain places like Thailand,
It
the
may
Philippines, they
be
have a
rainy
rainy
season.
season, right? That I remember wanting to go to Thailand the month of my birthday. And I was like, "Oh yeah, y'all, the flights are 400. We going to stay here, we going to stay there." And when I looked up traveling to Thailand in May, and it was like, "Oh, it's one of the worst times to go. It's the rainy season." That's why, right? So every time you find the flight deal, it might not really be a good deal. It might be because nobody's going to that place because of weather conditions or something else, right? But another thing to research, and luckily we did this before we went on this trip. When I went to South Africa, they were coming out of a water crisis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there were no knobs on the sinks at most places. Like if you stayed in a hotel, if you had a villa, yes. But my first week of being in South Africa, we were volunteering in a township, right? The volunteer house that we stayed in, we were restricted to 2-minute showers. Okay, they had a
Yeah.
big old tank of water outside of the house, and every day somebody came by and measured that water. And if you got to a certain level of water, then that meant that the house was going to be fined, right? So we would rinse our bodies, and I started doing this like a week before we went on this trip, like timing myself for 2-minute
Mm-hmm.
showers because we couldn't. First of all, it was like 15 of us that were in this house. One, and we were like, you got to rinse your body, soap up, then rinse it off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they had taken the knobs off the sinks. And every restaurant we went to had a sign. It said, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down, because you weren't even allowed to. You should not have even flushed the toilet just for pee, right? And so imagine people who travel to South Africa not knowing this, right? Specifically Cape Town. I can't speak for like Durban and Joburg. I don't know. But I know specifically for Cape Town in that moment, even the hotels had these like displays of large gallons of water. Like, it takes this much water to take a bath. It takes this much water to take a shower.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important for you to understand the current events or the current state of the country that you're going to, because you don't want to go someplace that's in the middle of civil unrest. You don't want to go someplace that's, or you might want to be mindful of going to a place that's in the middle of a water crisis or a drought or any, you know what I'm saying, or anything else.
When did you go to South Africa? Because I had to deal with that when I went as well to Cape Town. What year did you go?
It was November 2018.
Okay, I think that we went summer 2018.
Okay, so
So we dealt
they
with
were
the water
they were
crisis
still in the water
as well.
crisis. Yeah.
And something else, like travel is beautiful. And I know that part of the reason why I'm the person that I am and why I feel like I'm so knowledgeable about a bunch of different things is because I'm well traveled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are just some experiences that travel gives you that you can't experience by just staying in the US. And it just is what it is.
Exactly.
You know, we can take the poverty that we see in the US, but it would never compare to some of the impoverished conditions I've seen in other countries.
Right.
You know, and so travel just, it makes me grateful. You know, it makes me realize how blessed I am. It makes me realize how blessed I am to be American, to be a woman, and to be in America. You know, it just makes me appreciate some of the favor and grace that I realize I have. But in going to South Africa, you have to remember they're not that many years past apartheid. And so when I was in Johannesburg going on tours, they would tell you, do not go certain places by yourself. Do not do certain things. And it's because it's still dangerous in certain areas. So knowing the state of the environment that you're traveling to is important because of things like crime. When you go to Bangkok, Bangkok has a lot of crime too, and it's petty crime like being pickpocketed, being robbed, you know, and things like that. And so just being aware, because I hear people say things like, oh, when I go here, I really want to go to the hood and so, or I want to go. Baby, you can't always go off the beaten path. It's a reason why they have certain areas for you that are deemed safe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you think of what you know about Houston, I mean, about the US's impoverished areas or whatever city you live in. But you go to some of these places, $1 means they can feed their families for a week. And so, you know, I just think about being familiar with the terrain that you're traveling into and also making sure that you know where the embassy is and also you've registered if certain things are going on. I think I've talked about, if you followed me, going to Turkey after they had the coup attack and after the airport was bombed. They typically say that serious things don't happen twice. So Turkey, Istanbul had an airport bombing in 2017, I think it was. The airport was bombed. I was scheduled to go 2 weeks later. Um, People close to me that are free spirits like me, I grew up in a house with Sagittarius people. So we like, cool, you know, if the airport got bombed, that means that nothing else is probably going to happen back to back. You know, it's kind of, this is where we are. Lightning typically doesn't strike twice. And I also didn't have travel insurance. This was 2017. There were not a lot of people internationally traveling to where you were seeing it on social media like that. You know, we were still posting only pictures on social media at that time. And it was curated photos. So I didn't have travel insurance. And I'm like, I'll be good. Well, then there was the military coup attack 2 days before I left. I'm trying to contact the company. I purchased my ticket from a third party. That's another one.
We're gonna rewind back to third parties in a minute.
When you purchase from a third party, you have to go through that third party in order to get things done. So let's say you purchase from Expedia and somebody else purchased their flight from United. Something happens with your flight. People that purchase from United can call United. You have to try to get in contact with Expedia during their business hours. Expedia has to go through United and you pretty much are stuck working through a third party instead of being able to go to the source. This was on a Friday or something. Basically, I had to travel or lose my money because I couldn't reach the company in time. So I'm like, okay, we say lightning doesn't strike twice. We've had these two things happen back to back. What do I do? And I'm like, forget it. I have a layover in Frankfurt. I'm just going to pray on it, see how I feel, and then I'll go through the layover in Frankfurt. I'll just stay in Frankfurt if I'm not comfortable. So I decide, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go. And when I got there, that was one of the best trips of my life. I got to go to Cappadocia, before people knew about it. I got to experience the hot air balloon. I got to experience the cave hotel, but it was virtually empty because of what had happened. But I was super uncomfortable. You could feel the unrest in the air. That was the first time I got to see that other countries are not as censored as the US. They were publicly executing people on live TV. Like it was something I'd
Wow.
never experienced. And I'm glad I went, but I don't recommend that experience for everybody. I don't think if I was a seasoned traveler or if I didn't have a close friend that lived there, that it still would have been the same kind of experience. I knew if I needed to leave, my friend's family had the resources and they would make us all leave. You know, I had somebody with feet on the ground. So I felt
Yeah.
comfortable going. And this gonna be the last thing I'm gonna turn it over to Jennifer. If you ever want to know what's really going on somewhere, go to Twitter. Because Twitter is
Yes.
going to always have live tweets about exactly what's going on. Sometimes the media will say things like, oh, the airport's still on fire. You get on Twitter, you will see live photos of people leaving the airport with no issues. Twitter typically is going to always have the live updates that you need, especially if you're in a situation where you feel like a crisis is coming or someone you know may be in a crisis. Get on Twitter and see can you find out what's really going on from people there. Go ahead.
No, I mean, no, I completely agree. My boss literally just said that recently. Like, if you want to know what's going on, we had an incident in the building that we work in, and they weren't telling us anything. And he was like, "Somebody get on Twitter and see what's going on." And then we found out what was going on from Twitter. Like, and it's not just here. You can find it out anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the whole third party thing, that is definitely a great lesson to learn.
Yeah.
I have shared this story multiple times about me booking with a third party. I booked with Expedia, and I booked a hotel at the room at the Cosmopolitan for last December, and I ended up finding it cheaper to just book directly through Cosmopolitan and use my AARP card for a discount, right? And trying to cancel the reservation that I booked, Expedia said to contact Cosmopolitan. Cosmopolitan said to contact Expedia. Expedia said I had to contact Cosmopolitan's special reservations line. The special reservations line never opened. Then they told me that my refund had been issued. Then they came back and said a couple weeks later that refunds were taking longer than normal. And before I knew it, it had been over a month and I still hadn't gotten my money back. And Expedia ain't know, Cosmopolitan ain't know, nobody knew anything. So in order for me to get my money back, I had to file fraud against Expedia. And it should not have been that difficult, right? Now, here's the thing. I know that for many people, Expedia and the other third-party hotel apps and websites offer like book now, pay later. I get that. But you should also contact the hotel directly to see if they have that too, because Marriott, even though they don't advertise it, when you try to book with Marriott, you definitely are not charged until you stay. I don't know if it's all hotel rooms, but I know that I have seen that on several hotel sites. So but if you absolutely must, please go ahead. But make sure you have travel insurance and not just a basic plan. Actually contact the insurance company to build a plan out that is for you. And also just beware that if you have an issue with booking your transportation through a third party, booking your accommodations through a third party, just beware of the risks. I absolutely 1000% I don't care what the circumstances are. Do not book your flight through a third party. Like, that is a great lesson to learn. You basically said this yourself just now. Book with the airline directly, right?
Directly.
You got so many of you guys keep saying, well, I can't use Afterpay. I can't use Affirm. Guess what? If you use the Affirm app, you can use Affirm anywhere. That means that you can
And you
use
can use
Affirm
Klarna
on,
too, on
you
all
can
of
use
them.
you can use Klarna anywhere. You can use PayPal
Air
Pay in 4. Several of the
affordable, whatever
airlines
you got to do.
offer that. So you don't just have to use Afterpay if you need a payment plan. There's also an amazing plane ticket layaway company. You guys know that's how
Air
I got started with
affordable.
traveling is with Air Affordable, and you don't have to. And Air Affordable is booking directly through the airline. If you have an issue, Air Affordable gives you the
Yep.
confirmation number, and you contact the airline directly. You never have to contact Air Affordable for assistance with your ticket once it's purchased, right? So you guys, I just really want, that's like a huge lesson that I have. A huge lesson that I have learned, during my travels is, anything could happen. When COVID hit, it changed the game for a lot of us with travel, and a lot of people. Oh, let me give you guys another example, actually. If you guys remember bookit.com, you could book a vacation for just $5 down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right before the pandemic happened, I booked a trip to Mexico, right? Through bookit.com. Every 2 weeks, they were charging my credit card for the remaining, for a payment for the trip. Bookit went out of business as soon as the world shut down. Bookit went out of business, and they left thousands of travelers stranded. And those people got to their resorts, and their booking had never been paid for. And they were like, and the resorts were like, we need our money now, right? In order for me, even though I never got there, in order for me to get my money back, I had to file fraud against bookit.com, right? If I would have went directly through the resort, I never would have had that issue. I wouldn't have had that issue. So, that's just another great example.
So,
But y'all,
also, with me being a travel company owner, there are some benefits of booking with a travel company owner as a third party versus something like Expedia. Let me tell you why. Let's say you have a travel issue while you are traveling and somebody has to handle it. You don't have to spend 5 hours on the phone with Expedia. Know who does that? It is me as the travel company owner or travel agent that you book with. During COVID, when trips are being canceled, people were spending a lot of time on the phone with companies like Expedia, Priceline, etc. My clients had me to kind of intervene, and I spent a bunch of hours on the phone, but that was kind of what they had access to. But also, let me tell you something you could run into when booking with a third party. So that same trip that I talked about to Thailand and Bali, when we went to Bali, I found out about something called walking guests. Are you familiar with being walked? What being walked means is that, and Expedia has this clause, Priceline has these clause. Most of these third-party sites you can book by yourself have this clause. If a hotel is oversold or does not have a room, they can provide you with a hotel that is comparable, the same stars that is comparable, and basically, that's called getting walked. You get to a resort, they don't have your room, so you've been placed at a comparable resort. Book the trip to Bali. I booked with Expedia or Booking.com. So my trip to Bali, I went to Thailand and Bali together. If you follow my travels, what you'll know is that if I have a flight that's across the world, I'm gonna maximize that time. I may knock out 4 or 5 countries at one time. My first trip when I went to Europe, I went to London, Paris, Venice, Florence, Rome. We ended in Greece, flew home from Greece. So my trip to Thailand included like 7 or 8 days in Thailand. Then we went to Bali. Well, with the places that we were staying at, and just at that time, Wi-Fi was a little different. It was a little bit more expensive to use your phone. So I only use my phone on Wi-Fi, but I'm traveling. I'm going to waterfalls. I'm going to rice fields. I'm doing all these things. I had received an email while I was on my flight from Thailand to Bali, or when I was traveling, I received an email while I was traveling letting me know I had been walked, which means that the hotel I was supposed to stay at had been oversold and I was being placed at another hotel. Both hotels were the same stars, but when I looked at the reviews for the hotel they were walking me to, the reviews showed that even though the hotel rating was comparable, the customer service was not. And so I didn't want to get walked. And I didn't know. So we had called a taxi or I think a tuk-tuk or something to the hotel in Bali, only to find out, no, you're supposed to be at another hotel. You don't even have a reservation here. In order to use my phone, this is still a time when we didn't have like the $5, $10 a day plans. Like every minute that you use was roaming. I ran up $300 in charges going back and forth between Expedia or Booking and the hotel because the hotel did have a room. They had a cancellation. And Expedia was like, we already have you booked over here. And I'm like, I'm not going to that hotel. It's a lesser quality than what I want. But if you book with a third party and for some reason your hotel room is not available at the property that you're at, they can walk you, which is put you at a comparable property because that's in the agreement when you purchase your room.
That is wild.
You have to be careful of getting walked. So if this is your first episode of Sips and Trips, we're kind of going to recap what we're all about and what we're talking about if you just jumped in. I'm Tania the author on Instagram. We have Jennifer from Red Lips and Passports. And twice a month, ideally, we meet and we enjoy our favorite sips and talk about trips. Today we are drinking a sangria that we made with, for me, an alcoholic rosé. Jennifer made a mocktail, but we are talking about tonight's topic is things that we wish people would have told us before we went on some of our trips. So
and lessons we learned.
Lessons we learned with them. Tonight, if you have any stories that you want to share about a trip that you went on and it was the exact opposite of what you expected, we definitely don't mind you hopping on our live, so you can definitely request to join. If you've had a trip where you've had to learn a lesson because you thought you were going to Miami, ended up in Galveston, let us know.
So, y'all want a funny one?
We do. I told y'all Jennifer's the best storyteller ever. Go ahead and give it to us.
Okay, so first y'all gotta promise not to judge me.
We ain't gonna judge you publicly. Just to our best friends that ain't gonna tell nobody anyway, but go ahead.
Okay, so I have never shared this publicly on social media before, but one lesson that I learned that the alcohol at these all-inclusive resorts is not really alcohol, okay? And this is what I mean by that. If you stay at like a Royalton has like the Diamond Club package, and that's when you're getting the liquor that you've heard of before. You're getting the Tito's, the Hennessy, the Ciroc, you're getting that, the Patron, you're getting that stuff, right? If you're not in the Diamond Club, you're, instead of getting Don Julio, you're getting Uncle Johnny, okay? Like that's what you're getting. So I stayed at a Royalton. This was actually the first time. First of all, before I get started, I am well aware of how dangerous what I'm about to say could have been, right? But God was on his side. God looks out for babies and fools. And he looked out for me on today. So this was actually the first time I had ever been somewhere alone. I wasn't really alone. It was a group trip, but I didn't know any of the girls that were on the trip, right? So that first night, they had a white party at the hotel. So I go to the lobby, I meet up with some of the girls that are on the trip, and we're having a good time. Back then, my drink of choice was a sidecar, right? A sidecar is cognac, triple, like a orange liqueur and lemon, I think. Simple syrup, I can't remember. Anyway, that was my drink of choice. So back then, I could really throw liquor back. And I'm talking like I could guzzle down 9 or 10 drinks and not feel a thing, okay? And I could fully function the next day, okay, if I did that. So anyway, I had already had champagne, the welcome champagne. I had already met up with one of the girls for dinner, and we had drank at dinner, and then we go to this white party, and I'm like, Oh, let's toast a prosecco. Let's do this. Okay, let me get a sidecar, and I'm throwing these sidecars back, and they're disgusting actually because, like I said before, the liquor when you at these all-inclusive resorts is not always the liquor that you have at home. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize I was drunk until I stood up, and one of the girls on the trip was like, "Are you going back to your room?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I'm going to walk you." So I said, "All right, cool." Right? Hey, friend, because now I've made friends, right? So I go to my room. I'm in the room by myself. I have two separate beds. They were supposed to give me a king and they didn't. So I have two queen size beds in my room. Just remember this, okay? I remember taking my dress off and getting directly in the bed, right? But I'm so drunk that when I wake up, it's still pitch black outside. I don't know where I am. So I think I am at home. So so back then I lived in a little studio apartment. If I walked straight, I was going out the door. If I walked to the right, I was going to the bathroom. So I think I'm at home, but I'm in my hotel room. And if I would have walked straight, I would have went to the bathroom. And if I walk to the right, I'm going out the door, okay, to the main hallway of the hotel. Remember, I took my dress off, okay? And I have to pee, which is why I'm awake. So I get up and I go out the door naked. Okay, I had no clothes on, all right? And as soon as I heard the door click, I'm like, oh my God, you're naked. I was sober, right? So I'm banging on the door and I'm like, let me in. Open, somebody open up. But then it dawns on me, you are alone. You don't know nobody, right? So I'm like, what'd you say?
Scream because
I'm now like, you have to get help. But remember, I have to pee and I am also naked. Okay. Like I have nothing on. And I'm running down the hallway like this, trying to cover my boobs and my vagine, and my butt is all the way out. Now, as I'm running down the hallway trying to figure out what to do, I'm peeing on myself because I have to pee because I have drank all of this liquor. That wasn't even good liquor. And as I'm running down the hallway and peeing, I remember your key is on your wrist. So, so I get back in, I get back in the room. I unlock the door because I'm not. I'm surprised nobody came down this hallway and saw me naked running down this hallway like this, right? So I get back in the room and I'm like, girl, you peed on yourself. Like, don't get back in that other bed. You gotta get back in you gotta get in the new bed. So I must have had enough sense to rinse my body off, right? And so I get in the bed where it's not the pissy bed. And I wake up in the morning like, dang, that was a wild dream, man. And then I look at the remnants of the night before and I was like, nah, that really happened. So anyway, whatever your signature cocktail is in America, when you in Antigua, it don't hit the same. Okay.
drink a
So
red stripe.
that's what I got.
Drink a red stripe or something that can't be misconstrued.
So, all right. That's what happened. We have somebody who is wanting to join us. Okay. We have, I think it's Stacy. She's going to join us. I think she has a story she wants to tell us. I hope it worked when did I hit accept? Let me hit accept. Oh,
Stacey.
hi.
Hi, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm just getting off work. I look terrible. But I'm enjoying the conversation. That story was amazing. I hope you tell it at every party you go to. It's so funny. I just want to share something that I learned kind of the hard way traveling in France. So for my 10-year wedding anniversary, my husband and I went to Paris, and then we took a train to Monaco. Beautiful. It was one of the most like serene experiences of my life. We get to Monaco, we do the whole like boating on the coast and all that really, really romantic stuff. And, you know, we get to see the Formula, whatever, you know, speedway that's there, because that's where I think they have the Grand Prix and all that, right? So we're on our way back, and we just put our luggage, you know, kind of towards the door, and then we kind of maneuver to the back, and we're napping like we're asleep. Girl, you know they stole.
No.
Oh my God. And then she popped out at the, or is that,
Wait a minute. She paused.
and now I can't see.
I can see her, but she paused. We might have to invite her back.
Oh my God.
Let's see if I can get her back.
Rejoin, Stacy, because we need to hear what happened after they stole your luggage.
I can't even find her.
Look in the comments.
Okay. Oh, here she is. Okay, request us to come back. Request to come back, Stacy.
Because we need to hear what happened after your luggage got stolen. The classic
Oh, it happened to
Nick.
you too,
Tell us
Nicole?
what
Oh my
happened.
gosh.
Oh my God. The classic Nick. Can you come on live and tell us what happened? Because these are the things people need to know. If you're going to Cartagena, they will steal your luggage as well. We had some people that were on delayed flights, and when they got to Cartagena, their luggage was there, but it was missing expensive items.
Wow.
So because the luggage was left, we don't know if it was airport staff or if it was tourists that had went through the luggage and took the expensive items out before the people that got there later arrived.
Wow. And that's wild.
And I'm a carry-on only girl. I'm gonna tell you now, I don't check bags.
Same. Okay, here we go. I'm inviting you back, Stacy.
Definitely new James.
Hey!
Okay, she back.
Girl, I don't know. I was in the middle of my story and it turned off on it. So yeah, I had 2 pieces of luggage. They stole one. It was my real pretty purple, like it was a cute little bag. And it had, you know, some of my real cute outfits and stuff. So we, you know, filed a complaint, but I never heard anything back. So I just lost all the things that were in that luggage, like really cute, you know, pea coats, because we went during the wintertime. So I had some real cute stuff that I lost, but that's the lesson. So if you are going to take a train from Paris to anywhere else in France, sit next to your luggage. Watch that luggage like a hawk, because there's people commuting. You know what I'm saying? They're using that. We're using it to go across the country, but that's a commuter train as well. So people probably make a habit of just looking to see if there's anybody paying attention, and they swipe a bag real quick right before they get off the train. So sit next to your luggage if you decide to,
and definitely
to do that.
Things like pickpocketing and people taking your belongings in places like Paris, London, and Europe, that's big. So try to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Like if you're when I learned to start only packing carry-on bags was my trip to Europe. First off, it was me packing a big old suitcase across the country. Then it was me having to protect that suitcase across the country, because I had read every article about pickpocketing, them going through your stuff, them taking your things. And so, to be honest, now if I can't carry it on, it can't come. And I have a lot of packing tips. That'll be another episode. But if I can't pack it on the plane and keep my eyes on it, ain't no way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great advice. Yeah. I had boots and coats for every day. Okay. I was trying to be real cute, and a lot of that stuff got stolen. So
and they target us as tourists. So if you look like a tourist and act like a tourist, people that are used places where their economy is not as sustainable as in America, because we forget that. Right. You know, we forget sometimes because America's ghetto. Don't get me wrong. We all know that. Right.
We do. We
take it for granted. We really do.
We take for granted our voice. Us as women being able to speak up. Yeah, they're racist as hell over here, but we also take for granted some of the freedoms that we have being Black in America. And so just think things like that.
Yeah.
But when you go other places, you are a tourist and you are a lick if you don't keep your eye on your stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's
Thank you
right.
for
Thank you
Thank y'all,
for
joining.
ladies. I
joining
love
us.
what you're
You
doing.
too.
Have a good one.
You know, one thing that I don't like to see is people be extremely flashy on trips, right? You're going to a country where it is extremely, I don't want to say, I'm going to say lesser
You may have to
service.
end it on your end.
Okay, there
Okay,
we
got it. Go
go.
ahead.
It'll be lesser service. And then you walking around here with your Gucci and your Louis Vuitton. And don't get me wrong, you know, your girl loves a luxury piece.
Your
But
girl,
some things are not, I know, yes, you do. And some things don't need to be packed in that suitcase, depending on where you're going, okay? You going to one of these poor townships or lesser service townships in South Africa, take that Gucci bag off, sis, because you're going to be targeted. They see something like that and they see dollar signs. It becomes unsafe for you because they're going to try, people may try to get it. I'm not saying that this is everywhere, so please do not misunderstand what I'm saying, but you should really be mindful. You should really be mindful. I would not wear these earrings. You know what I'm saying? I would not wear these earrings to certain places, right? It's even places here that I wouldn't wear these earrings to. You know what I'm saying? You have to really pay attention to what the climate is in the area that you're going to be traveling to.
For sure. New James, if you want to hop on and tell your story, definitely hop on. And I think that's important. So let me say this and let me be clear on this. I'm an advocate for Black people traveling to Africa.
Oh, yeah.
But I also want you to be knowledgeable and aware when you travel to certain places in Africa. Cape Town, South Africa changed my life in general.
Same.
I feel like Cape Town and Johannesburg were, I can't explain it. If you go, you'll know, but it changed my heart. It changed the way I think. Considering that they are less than a century away from apartheid and seeing the strides that they've made, it reminds you America is still behind, but it also reminds you like, damn, segregation really was existing within my lifetime. Like people were really going through that. And so when I go to places like Cape Town and they tell you people like Will Smith, famous people love Cape Town because Cape Town is amazing. But with Cape Town, when they tell you once you get to the townships, there are smash and grab areas, they mean that. If you see a sign that says
exactly
smash
that.
and grab area, hide your belongings, that means if you got Louis Vuitton earrings on, baby, take them off. If you have a Gucci bag, hide it, because what happens is they bust your windows out and they take your belongings and you can't even, and there's nothing you can do, you know? And so travel, but be as conscious about traveling as you are when you are traveling to the hood in your city you'll know you don't have no business being in.
Right.
And that's it.
Right. Right. And please don't misunderstand what we're saying, right? Every place is not like this, right? But you just want to be mindful, right? You have to think about it. There are some places, like if you go to the Dominican Republic, you think them little kids are being nice to you because they washing your feet? No, they want $1.
Yeah.
Okay, because they live in a lesser serviced area, and sometimes people like that can be desperate, right? Some people don't, those little kids working for their dollar, but there's some people out there that don't want to work for their dollar. It's just like here, where you could work as hard as I do to get X, Y, and Z to buy a car, or you could take the easy way out and carjack me for it. You know what I mean? You got to be, you just have to be, extremely mindful. I went on a trip with a girl last year, and I didn't know her. It was a group trip, but she was Gucci down to the socks. Okay,
Gucci down. Sorry, go ahead. I'm really. Go ahead.
Find it and let it go. Okay,
Sorry.
but
I don't know what happened.
But
go ahead.
you really have to just be you really have to be extremely just pay attention. I know you want to be flashy and you see the Real Housewives and all them. They got security, we don't. Okay, let's just be mindful of that. But anyway, Another thing that I wish I knew prior to travel is about your international travel plan not working in every country, right? So you think when they sell it to you, they're like, oh yeah, you can use it overseas. Let me tell you, when I landed in Ethiopia and I turned that phone on, it was like, welcome to Ethiopia. Your travel plan is not covered here.